Hello and welcome to our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat. My name is Daniel, I'll be your host for today, and for today we have these three lovely people from The Setup. Thank you guys so much for joining us on our Digital Open Day. And for all of you who have just logged on, welcome. This is our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat. If you have any questions at all for these three people regarding the setup or anything Taylorian or even themselves, please feel free to ask and we'll answer them for you live. In fact, if you wish to speak to any one of our counselors or even have a virtual campus tour, you can head on over to our website and you can get all those things over there. Alright, so let's start off. So could you please tell us your name, and to kick off the ice-breaking session, what if there was a business, what would it be that you wish that you started?
Okay, so hey, my name is Julius, co-founder and CEO of Arrivo. So if there's a business that I can start, it could probably related to something like a self-driving car. That's cool because I think that's very cool.
Hi, I'm Harvey. I'm the founder of Psyclone Studios. If there is one business that I would like to kickstart off, I think I would like to do gaming, and that's what we're doing right now. Well, gaming is cool, right? And now is the perfect time for doing games, isn't it? You know, people sitting at home playing games.
Yeah, very true.
My name is Shibu. I'm the director of The Setup. I've had a couple of startups in the US already. One was a service-based industry, which I did a BOT model with a large company to set up in India for them. And then I also did a compiler and a debugger for another company, and also worked as a director for another startup which did vending machine reading. But if I had something to set up again, I would do a product based basically in the medical field, because I think a lot of people are going to get sick.
Yeah, definitely true right now. Alright, thank you guys so much. So actually we're going to start off with Mr. Shibu. So Shibu, could you please tell us a little bit more about the setup? Can you tell me and the audience what exactly it does?
So if you look at 2017, the World Economic Forum said entrepreneurs should be taught as a program in every school and university. So Taylor's actually is in the forefront, and they set up the incubator. So basically the setup is a hybrid incubator accelerator. What a hybrid incubator accelerator does is it takes early stage startups from the ideation stage to obtaining at least Series A or commercialization. And we also set up an environment that is conducive for them to grow. So we have an ecosystem of partners. We also have an ecosystem with, recently we did an MOU with Nexia, which is an angel investor, angel pre-seed investor. Then we also have other companies like company secretaries, which are required in Malaysia. We also have partners with law firms, IP firms. So we have a full ecosystem so that it's easy for a startup to grow from A all the way to the end.
All right, fantastic. All right, so now this question is headed for Julius and Harvey. So this question is, can you guys tell us actually a little bit more about your own specific startups? Yeah.
Okay, so Arrivo actually will be heading to its first birthday next month, the first day of the month. And before we actually started Arrivo, actually we had another idea of doing something AI related, but it is something about food, about table management and food ordering system. So we find out that in Malaysia, this is not a challenge and this is not a problem. However, we think in other countries they might face this kind of problem, but not so much in Malaysia. So we found out another bigger problem, which is parking, that every driver is facing these days, especially when it comes to paying the parking ticket. So we are thinking that, are we just going to use this for the coming years, or are we going to change it? Because we just think from what we came from, we are from IT background, and we definitely believe that technology can actually change this, and we believe using AI and IoT devices can actually make it a very seamless process to make people pay their parking easier and faster, and everything using mobile payment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday to your startup, by the way.
Thank you.
All right. So Psyclone Studio is actually a gaming and entertainment studio. And currently now we are working on a mobile game that is called Terror World. That is actually a PvP mobile game, a third-person shooting game. And we're about to launch our beta at around May to July. So we'll welcome all Taylor students to try our beta. So in the aspect of gaming, in Malaysia, it is still rather weak compared to gaming company like EA, Ubisoft, Riot Games. Yeah, so I would like to increase those aspects in Malaysia. So make gaming become a thing in Malaysia.
Yes. All right, fantastic. So this next question here is actually dedicated to Shibu again. So this question here is, what can students expect if they were to pay the setup a little visit?
So they can expect to see a couple of student teams working there currently. We have 3.
Like these two?
Yes. We have Arrivo, Psyclone, and we also have 10 Stones that just moved in. So they are also alumni like Julius. Then you can also see a co-working space that is modern. It's a modern co-working space. It's where you have hot seating. You can sit anywhere you want to. And one of the things we are teaching in the setup is to collaborate. So we ask the teams to talk to each other. So for example, his buddy James is helping them with their Amazon app.
Okay.
So we are also asking them to talk to the other girls who are doing branding. So that way they collaborate with each other. And it actually increases their MVP process, which is a minimal viable product, to get it out faster because they have help from others.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so if a group wants to do their own thing, but you guys are actually encouraged to help support other teams as well.
Yes. So collaboration and mentorship is the most important thing.
Okay.
If you look at all the big guys like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all of them had mentors. So one of the things we're trying to instill here is to have a mentor.
Wow, fantastic. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the next question here is for again Julius and Harvey. If you guys were part of the setup, correct? So how did that actually happen? What's the story behind this?
Okay, so for me and Arrival, actually we started when we thinking that we are quite stuck in between things, so we cannot move anywhere. We are kind of lost in building our startup company. So we decided to search for a mentor or an advisor on LinkedIn. So then when we went to LinkedIn, actually we found Mr. Shibu on LinkedIn, and we decided to just personal message him, and Mr. Shibu is very nice. He just replied our message instantly, and then we set up a meeting at the setup. And then through the meeting, we find out that we've been doing something in the wrong way, I would say, because we never been through this process, and in the meeting, Mr. Shibu, he kind of gave us some advice, and we actually take the advice very seriously, and we kind of put it in our company and actually make a plan of it, and also turn it into action. So after 11 months here, we find out the setup is very good for students who actually wanted to start their ideas, because one of the things that I found most crucial for startup is actually teams. So a lot of people, they actually have great ideas, but they never find the best partner to kickstart a company. Yeah. So in the setup, not only you can actually form your team in the setup. Also, you can find mentorship in the setup, because I do believe mentorship is very important, especially to students, because they never do something related to entrepreneurship. Yeah. So have someone guiding you is something very, I would say, blissful. Yeah. So I would say if any students or anyone who really wanted to join Taylor's and they have a great idea, maybe the setup is the place to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Harvey?
So my partner and I, both of us came from a technical background. We're doing computer science right now. We're just year 1 students. And then we realized that we know how to create a cool product, but we don't know how to create a product that makes money. Mm-hmm. So by that, but fortunately we have a lecturer, Mr. Tiwi Jing, who introduced us to Mr. Shibu to the setup program. So, and then Mr. Shibu can provide us with business consultation and guidance on marketing, branding, those kind of things. And just like Julia said, a team is very important. You know, you have people from technical background, you have people that can talk, a salesperson, but you still need a person that has a strong business background in order to make your business grow.
Oh, Shibu, for both of their answers, they seem to have both mentioned your name. Shows how much of an impact that you have, given these two young entrepreneurs. Thank you. All right, so for just a gentle reminder, for those of you who have just logged in, welcome. This is our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat, where we are talking with the people from The Setup. So if you have any questions regarding The Setup or even about themselves, please feel free to give us your questions and we'll answer them for you live. In fact, if you wish to talk to any one of our counselors or have a virtual campus tour, head on over to our website and you can get those as well. All right, so speaking of which, we actually have questions from the audience. So thank you guys so much. All right, so one of our questions is, what are the qualities one should possess in order to run a startup?
Okay, a couple of things. You need to understand it's not a sprint, it's a long journey. You need to have perseverance and willing to take the risk. That's basically one of the two main qualities you need to have. And then you need to be able to sell your vision to someone else.
Oh, okay. So risk-taking, perseverance, and being able to sell your vision to someone else.
I mean, if you can't take risks, then you're not in the right place.
Very true. How about you guys? Since you guys are entrepreneurs yourselves, anything from personal experience that you would definitely say to someone?
Okay, so once I heard Gary Vee said one thing and I very agree to it. He said entrepreneurship is like taking punches to the face every day for every year.
Wow.
So being an entrepreneur is not the easiest thing to do. Perhaps it's maybe one of the hardest thing to do. But however, I just think that having that belief into your vision, it's something I would say that's what an entrepreneur must have. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they give up before they actually sell their vision to someone. Let's say like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. Before they even become successful, no one actually buy their vision until the one person show up, then they become the Elon Musk and Steve Jobs today. So also one thing that I believe is like what Mr. Shibu saying, risk-taking. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they might not realizing they are actually taking risks because they are so comfortable in taking risks, it becomes their comfort zone. So a lot of people, when they look at the entrepreneur, they say, hey, you are making a very risky move, but maybe that's not very risky to them because they make it their comfort zone and they start taking risks every day. Yeah, entrepreneurs is about taking risks and taking punches to their face and still keep going.
All right, nice. Harvey?
Well, I would say time and commitment is something an entrepreneurship has to put into. Because no matter how great your idea is, once you cannot execute it, there's no point of having a great idea.
Just to add, there's a very nice video called The Lonely Place. That's an entrepreneur's life in the first early stages. So the video goes about a man who knocks on a door every day and gets slammed on the door every day. And he feels like giving up, but he never does. But it's always lonely. You need to remember that. That's why mentorship is very important.
Wow. So that mentorship is meant to help you guide through those that lonely experience to make it not lonely.
So, I mean, someone has already been there. So no matter how much you know, there's always someone else out there who knows more than you. So having them be your mentor will be good to guide you through that small block on your journey.
Wow, okay, insightful. Thank you guys. Right, so another question that we actually have from the audience. Thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to head them over to us. This question is, what are the inevitable challenge that a startup would face?
So, startup journey, if you look, there's a curve called the Death Valley.
Death Valley.
Death Valley. It's a curve that goes up. Most startups fail in that Death Valley. About 95 to 98% fail in that valley. It's once you cross that valley, where you have your first customer, you start growing your business, it's easier to succeed because you have more confidence, you have money coming in. But the Death Valley is where you get pre-seed funding, but then no funding anymore after that. And most companies fail because of that. They lack that ability to get over that one curve. It's called the Death Valley. You can look it up. Most startups will. If you look on Startup Death Valley, you will see that.
Okay. Do you guys have any?
Or before the Death Valley, well, when your company is not getting any capital, any funding, no money, So you're not paying your co-workers, and it's hard to maintain a team that is built based upon on passion. It's hard to motivate someone that is sharing only your vision. So it is easy to tear the team apart, you know, when they're only motivated by your vision.
Okay, so I think there's two challenges for me. I think the first challenge is finance, and a lot of startups they never look at it as a marathon. They look at it as a sprint. So they actually think they should get money very quick, and they didn't actually expect it to take this long, and therefore a lot of startups they fail. Yeah, so actually startup you have to have a backup, because once you enter into startup, actually, which is something that I never expect as well. At first I was very naive. I thought in 3 months I'll get my funding and then run everything, and someone will buy the product and someone will buy the service, right? So eventually that's not the case. Always expect the worst, and like today, if like today when the virus hit us, there will probably be a lot of entrepreneurs facing some difficulties in what they are doing, but always have some backup. Yeah. Another one is mental health. I believe mental health is one of the most challenging part of being an entrepreneur, because like what Mr. Shibu said, loneliness is one of it, because so many people that don't understand what you're doing, they try to misunderstand what you're doing. They always come and challenge your mental state, and it could lead to breakdown, anxiety, depression, and that's why in Arrivo we always encourage personal growth. Yeah, because other than our body needs to work out to stay healthy, and our mind needs to work out to stay healthy as well. That's very important, because that's the fuel that actually drives someone to the destination. Our mind is so important that a lot of times, even to go to the further or just give up right now, actually is just determined by our mind. So it's very important to actually seek, like always ask for personal growth, always ask for mentorship, always look for some resources for yourself to make yourself grow. That's very important.
Right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right, just another gentle reminder, if you have just logged in, welcome to our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat, where we're talking with these 3 people regarding the setup. So if you have any questions regarding the setup, or even questions that you'd like to ask them personally, feel free to send them over, and yeah, send them over. If you go to our website, you can talk with our counselors and even have a virtual campus tour from the safety of your own home. All right, so the next question here that we have is, once students have nurtured their ideas and went on to the execution phase, and it starts to physicalize, their ideas, what further support does the setup provide for these startups at their later stages?
So one of the things that's happened in Malaysia is having a startup alone with an idea doesn't work anymore. Most of the funding requires you to have an MVP. An MVP is a minimal viable product. You don't have to build all the product. You do something called a teaser to your customers. So this is what I'm teaching Harvey to do. It's just, you don't have to build a full app to come out. Even him, you don't have to build a full app. You build something enough to get someone's interest in it. Then you build the next stage. When you have an MVP, so for example like Cradle's funding only if you have an MVP now will they give you money. They don't give you ideation money anymore, unless you're doing a medical device. So, but that requires a lot more money.
Right.
But once you have an MVP, you can get your first customer because you're teasing him.
Right.
And even if you don't have your first customer, you can get funding to get your commercialization moving. Right. So we do provide that support because I'm actually quite friendly with Cradle. Then we also sign an MOU with Nexia, which is a pre-seed venture capital. So they're mostly angels. So but what they do is they put their own money and they also mentor you to go to the next level. So there's also programs at Magic. So when you have your first revenue, Magic has an accelerator program that's for free. SME is an accelerator program. Invest Selangor is an accelerator program. Invest Penang is an accelerator program. So there are a lot of programs to take you to the next level available. And I mean, they are willing to partner with good startups.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand. So basically, to create an MVP is basically creating the beta version, the first draft version?
It's first draft, it's even alpha version.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to have a beta so much.
Right.
So you start getting customers interested.
First draft version. Okay, cool, thank you. All right, so our next question here is, what's the relationship actually between the setup and the makerspace? So actually we had the Makerspace come for our segment yesterday. So if you've watched the Makerspace, great, it will give you some context. So yeah, so what's the relationship?
The relationship is, so the Makerspace starts very early stage. So they start building teams. So if you go to the Makerspace, you don't have a team yet, they build a team for you. So they do very, very early stage incubation. So they build a team, then they have a problem that they want you to solve. So you empathize on the problem and figure out what the problem is. Then you define the problem. You can't solve the problem without defining it. Then once you define a problem, you come up with a prototype. And once you come up with a prototype, if you're serious about doing business, they'll funnel it to us, to the setup. So once then the setup will help you set up a company. Then they'll take your initial prototype and make it into an MVP. And then we help you get funding. We'll actually introduce you to funders. I can't physically fund you, but we will introduce you to funders like Cradle or Nexia or MBNA Network, Malaysian Business Angel Network. So we'll introduce you to those type of people to get to the funding. Then you get your first customer, then you grow. Then you can go into other programs like I said, Magic has an accelerator program. Then if you go even further and expand overseas, MDAC has a GAIN program. So there's a lot of programs available for Malaysian startups.
Oh, fantastic. I guess it's all about finding that opportunity for yourself.
So
Right.
for Psyclone Studio, we're making games. So in game, we have arts, programming, sound design. There are so many things, and we can, if we have any problems or we need people, we can go to the Makerspace to find professionals. That's also a way of collaboration between Makerspace and the setup.
Fantastic. All right. So, okay, so that's the relationship between the setup and the Makerspace. Fantastic. So for those of you who have just logged in, once again, this is the Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat where we're chatting with these people representing the setup. So if you have any questions regarding entrepreneurship, the setup, or even about their personal experiences, as these two are entrepreneurs, and actually these three are entrepreneurs, but one is the mentor. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them over and we'll answer them live for you. And if you wish to talk with our counselors or even have a virtual campus tour, head on over to our website for those things. All right.
So there's also 3 programs that Taylor's offers for entrepreneurship.
Okay, yeah?
One is called Understanding Entrepreneurialism, which actually gives you an overall view of what entrepreneurship should be. It gives you what mindset you should have, what characteristics you should have, how to look at deal flows. It gives you an overview of everything. Then we have the next phase, which is ideation. Ideation actually doesn't want you to build any prototype. It wants you to make sure you validate your idea thoroughly. Because not all ideas are commercializable, because some start very early.
Right.
And it's not commercializable yet, so it may need time to grow. Then you go into the startup phase. The startup phase actually will teach you how to do a detailed business plan, how to come up with a product MVP, how to actually build your MVP, and actually go and pitch to VCs for funding. So it gives you that whole view. So there are 3 different programs that are set up within Taylor's already. So the next, Understanding Entrepreneurialism has started beginning of last year. Ideation will start the next semester, which is April, and then the startup will start in August.
Right.
So you have a full phase where you can get a minor in entrepreneurship, but go through this whole phase of setting up a business.
Right. Is this under the setup or is this under
It's under the business school. So the setup sits under the business school. So we work with the business school to do that.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
And the framework from all 3, the framework from Understanding Entrepreneurialism was taken from Edinburgh, because we had a previous professor from Edinburgh who showed me that. Ideation and startup were taken from Stanford and my alma mater, University of Texas.
Right.
They also break it up into 2.
Right. And you don't have to be a student from the business school in order to...
No, it's open to any student.
It's open to any student. So if you wish to join Taylor's for any other course, the setup is open for them as well, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So you don't have to be a business school student in order to be an entrepreneur. For sure, for sure. All right. So the next question that we have is, this is for Julius and Harvey actually. Could you share with me what have you learned so far after working in the setup with Mr. Shibu? So you can share us off your learning experiences that you've had under his mentorship.
Okay, so I would say Mr. Shibu always take care of his team, and Mr. Shibu actually been to a few meetings with us, and he actually, through the meeting, he actually tell us like what is our strength and what is our weakness. So he do see the goods and bads in the meetings, and he can also tell us like what we should actually improve on. So I think that's very important, because a lot of people, they went to a meeting but they came back with nothing. So in order for you to improve your skills in meeting, how to close sales and how to negotiate with your clients, that's very important. And I will also say this experience is it's pretty amazing that someone willing to give you their time to actually just bring you through the process and trust you in the process. I think that's very amazing. Yeah.
All right.
So Mr. Shibu also opens the door to us, to the outside world, the cradle, the magic, or the big corporation that is willing to help startups. Also, he helped me to contact different lecturers from different school, from Prof. Kong from business school, the Mr. Tiwei Jing, and also lecturers from design school that is good at game art. So I've got a lot of help from him, and also a lot of help from other schools' lecturers. Yeah.
Right. Well, Shibu, it sounds like you have a great deal of impact on these two students. All right, so we have one more audience question. Thank you all so much. So this audience question is from, and Ivan. Thank you, Ivan, for giving us your question. So Ivan asks, why is this, I guess by this he means the setup, why is this useful if I want to study in tailors? Okay, so why is the setup useful if I want to study in tailors?
If you want to take the entrepreneurship journey, then it's important for you to use the setup. So if you're going on an entrepreneurship journey, if you just want to do an engineering degree or work for somebody, then it may not be necessarily the place for you. But if you want to do a startup and be around startups, then the setup will be a very important part of your growth as an entrepreneur, in the early stages especially.
All right, thank you. Well, we're actually coming to the very close part of ending our session. But before that, we actually have one final question, which is the wrap-up question. And this question is, what advice would you give to new students and people thinking about joining tailors? So all of our audiences here are actually people who are thinking about maybe joining tailors. So what's your advice to all these potential students that may join tailors?
Okay, so I'll say I have a great time here in tailors. So I would say the reason why I really like tailors is because you can actually meet people like the setup, and then there's also, because tailors establish a very good connection for you to, after you graduate, maybe when you start looking for jobs, and these opportunities is always in tailors, and I always see tailors graduates has good qualities in execution. So these are the process that you are actually going to be in tailors, and through all this process, you can turn yourself very industry prepared, and you won't be facing so many challenges when you graduated. So I would say tailors will be a great choice if you decide to have a good career start. Yeah.
Harvey?
So just like what I said, I got a lot of help from all the lecturers and Mr. Shibu. So why not tailors?
Why not tailors? Shibu?
So if you want a good rounded education, I mean, like if you look at Bill Gates and also Warren Buffett, the one thing they said a person needs in life is education. You can feed a man fish for the rest of your life, but if you teach him how to fish, he can fish for himself. Right. So education is that part of your journey. And if you want a well-rounded education that includes entrepreneurship as a model, then Taylor is one of the few universities that offer it. So, I mean, that's my take.
All right, fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining us here today for this segment. Stay tuned because we will actually have another segment just shortly after this, which is Beyond the Classroom, the Active Tailorian. So stay tuned for that. And for all three of you, thank you all so much for being our guests, sharing your experiences and answers for our fellow audiences. And we have come to the end of our session. Thank you so much for watching our Digital Open Day live chat, and stay tuned for the next segment, which is coming up very soon. All right, we can say goodbye to the audience now.
Bye.
Bye.
See you in Taylors.
See you in Taylors, hopefully.